measured by other people's minds, but our satisfaction is measured by our heart. Are you satisfied? Someone can see you to be successful, but you know deep within you, you are not satisfied. A great thinker was asked, what is the meaning of life? And this was his reply. Life itself has no meaning. It is an opportunity to create a meaning. Life itself has no meaning. And life is what you make of it. When the opportunity comes, how you make it becomes a good life or a bad life. Life itself has no meaning, but it is an opportunity to make a meaning out of it. Good morning. And opey yatanase. And somebody chagu. And ra. Nagana nyina. Aye din. Aye nyina nim say. Enka ye ken kan sansam nyina o Jubilee House wie enka akoda. Ye nyantie ne so ohene ba akose da bi da. Report no in its entirety on YouTube. Na iris wonsom. Yebeba ho. President Mahama deploys Ghana Armed Forces to aid Jamaica after hurricane. He says the deployment of the Ghana Army engineers reflect Ghana's strong ties with the Caribbean nation and the world. After
we dispatched the first batch of humanitarian assistance, I made a phone call to the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Andrew Holness, to express Ghana's solidarity with the people of Jamaica. He thanked me for the assistance we had dispatched. And in our discussion, he said what they need currently is assistance with rebuilding and providing shelter for the people who have been displaced. And so I offered to send a regiment of our engineering corps to help with the assistance, and also send them some tents to provide temporary shelter.
And until your penny says what Donald Trump has said, say Waba airlift Ghana Army engineers to Jamaica after the hurricane. Now reconstruction efforts so all year. It was that Donald Trump has said. You
the United States to President Trump, the government and people of the United States of America for making this mission possible. When we conceptualized this mission, one of the main obstacles to executing the mission was the ability to airlift the troops to Jamaica for this mission. The United States of America stepped forward and offered to provide us the airlift capacity to be able to move the troops.
Oguja Tabla say Ghana 10 million Ghana cedis. Any relief donation yede Kwakoma Jamaica no, it shows the nation's values of empathy, solidarity and compassion. Okuja to Ablakwa.
Mr. Speaker, spanning more than 6 decades, illustrate that Ghana's humanitarian diplomacy is institutional, principled, and deeply rooted in national identity. They demonstrate a consistent belief that solidarity is not merely rhetorical, but must be expressed through tangible support, even in circumstances where resources are constrained. Right, Honourable Speaker, it is within this proud and unbroken tradition that Ghana's humanitarian assistance and technical support, extended since 7 January 2025, must be understood.
Nano Anna, Wasahine, Afenyo Makina, minority leader, question say, hey, domestic challenges are a woman now, relief at 10 million, somebody comma Jamaica, Wobusa.
Of relief is being provided. We don't know how these items were procured, the processes involved in the procurement, which agency is donating these items to central government, how these items came about. Mr. Speaker, no. In this country, we have serious disasters. The recent flooding in the country, we know that people have been calling for relief. NADMO has been telling us that they don't have stock. So we need to understand, we know that a gap in foreign relations, but where you do not have enough to feed your own at home, doing international charity will require a curious concern. Mr. Speaker, I am asking, Mr. Speaker, it is very important that we...
Okay. No good tabla kwanwan or the to just CCI. America visa restrictions by is here you din him cry. Now not said the strong and cordial relationship that Ghana is having with the United States. There are some people who also believe say Abino as short changing Ghana at this year be. One more chichi woman and saying we are din no. Abina bi ani prum se on so so abutre ka mo ne wo mo echeche wo mo nti aban no so ene US aban asosa treaty o mo san ye se udi boni e America betuma be fo akono ase wo yi ni manfo ma awko kro no na nko onye dai.
We are thankful to him and the team at the US Embassy here. Thankful to President Trump for being a good brother to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And if you doubted the good brotherliness between President Trump and President Mahama, you may have seen last night that in the latest round of US visa restrictions, which hit very closely because almost all our neighbors are now affected, President Trump once again exempted his brother's country. The Republic of Ghana was fully exempted, and we are grateful to President Mahama for leading our foreign policy, which clearly is...
Okay. The minority in Parliament is demanding the resignation of and dismissal of Lands and Natural Resource Minister Eye Kofi Amabua over the withdrawal of the lithium mining agreement. Visitors if we say, "Womo common one say natural resource minister say bibia ye kama." Omo kan no awoso no ho apetampe eye. Ape omo kotre mu apape ya babontin so wa withdraw no say wa waste you be a time or say company pamono no no amu kra no on resign. Ghana ha. As if
mineral with far-reaching implications for Ghana's industrialization agenda, energy transition, youth employment prospects, environmental protection, and intergenerational equity. The management of such a resource demands clarity, consistency, and foresight. The minister's erratic handling of this matter has undermined public confidence, weakened Ghana's negotiating position, and exposed Parliament to avoidable embarrassment. In any functioning democracy, a sector minister who presides over such contradictions and uncertainty on a matter of national importance must take responsibility for his action.
Now, peche for menim so mu didi peche dia. Awo asante achim north. Enom say han ha. Ye koko kakra ne ye burofuo ene mo ayedua ena galamsey for to go. Na oma akanteme dinse. Se obi biara obebawura omo so obeye mining. Ene onye krado say bia wo mo ne asase ne ban mene no. Pecheche.
We'd like to call on the municipal chief executive, the member of parliament, Nananom, the traditional leaders, His Excellency the President of the Republic. I would like to also call on the district police commander who came to arrest 2 people who actually sacked galamseyers from our land, that it is in their interest to protect the lives and properties of this area, but not to cause arrest of innocent people who are stopping Galamsey from coming to their lands. And we are going to declare war on anybody who will take us for granted and decide that they will come here to come and do that.
Yo, Ombeshia Wachro. Obutumia ma, Obakasa Biwana, and the bet say your integrity. Warrant Officer Class 2. I a friend of David Kofi Brew of the 4th Battalion. Ene achino. Ya chenwa or kwakoton etio ediama a civilian. Nene no kotonchu. I'm so watache. Maybe I feel ni achino. Yo. Turn that TV no so no. David Kofi Brew na Warrant Officer Class 2 of the Ghana Armed Forces. W02 David Kofi Brew who's so journey. Now W02 Kofi Brew na brofudi. O de ko hono na abu hu soja for so journey a wa brichi. Yo. Bawku mediation. Now Bawku mediation mo fa letter nto so. Mamprugu overlord. Na Bohagu Mahami Abdullah Sheriga or say Bawku chieftaincy dispute no. I reject it. Or say mediation was a deadlock. The Nairi overlord of Mamprugu wished to formally and unequivocally distance the office of the Nairi and the people of Mamprugu from the so-called mediation report presented by Otumfor said to in respect of the Bawku chieftaincy dispute. I have taken note with profound disappointment and grave concern. The presentation described as a report and recommendation by Otumfor to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, on the 16th December. I must state clearly and without reservation that the so-called report and recommendation does not reflect my engagement with Otumfor, nor those of my duly constituted mediation team. I therefore formally reject the report and recommendation in its entirety for the following reason. The purported report and recommendation in question do not constitute a valid mediation, and any attempt to present this as a binding and to seek government enforcement is legally untenable, procedurally flawed, and constitutionally impermissible. Otumfor expressly described his role as that of a mediator and not an arbitrator. Notwithstanding this, the document proposed to pass judgment and to prescribe measures to enforcement, acts wholly inconsistent with the nature, limits, and essence of mediation. Despite repeated and formal requests by our mediation team, no terms of reference were ever provided to govern the mediation process. Contrary to the expectation that both the former President Ade Akye Abia and the current President John Dramani Mahama would have clearly indicated what these terms of reference were. I am compelled to ask, what manner of mediation permits a mediator to unilaterally reach determinations and call for the enforcement without first affording the parties the opportunity to be heard on the reasoning, views, or proposals underpinning said determination? Yes, follow up. Yapon. Maybe I'll question the amendment. A mediation calm down. Calm down small. 5. Calm down. At no point were the parties invited to engage with, comment on, or respond to the conclusions said to have been reached. If any deliberation occurred, they were conducted entirely without the knowledge, participation, or consent of Mamprugu. A mediation report, properly so called, must faithfully reflect the position advanced by the parties, identify areas of agreement and disagreement, and record any consensual outcomes achieved through facilitated dialogue. It cannot lawfully or legitimately substitute the mediator's personal opinion, recommendations, or decisions for the negotiated positions of the party. To do so is to abandon mediation and to assume an adjudicative role for which no jurisdiction exists. The recommendations contained in that report therefore amount to unilateral determination imposed without due process, in clear violation of the Ode Otteram pattern principle and the foundational rules of the natural justice. For these reasons, the recommendations are procedurally flawed, legally unsustainable, and wholly unacceptable to me and to the entire Mamprugu people, both within and beyond the borders of Ghana. I am further constrained to ask whether the established principles of mediation have now been altered to permit a mediator to grant recommendations on selective reliance on committee report and court decisions, rather than on the promised traditional consultative and facilitative approach. The report is replete with factual inaccuracies, personal assertions attributed to the mediator, and a manifest imbalance in favor of the party's narrative, while almost entirely omitting Mamprugu's case. For the avoidance of that, it is entirely false to say that I ever agreed to the continuing recognition of Aninchima as Bokunaba. It is equally disturbing that both parties to the mediation were absent at the presentation of this court report, which is now being portrayed as having enjoyed their acceptance. One must reasonably ask why duly mandated representatives of the parties were denied the opportunity to comment, opportunity that could have lent legitimacy to any claimed endorsement, while other organizations were selectively invited instead. To say that I feel betrayed, disappointed, and deeply hurt will be a grave understatement. I am further alarmed by a statement attributed to His Excellency the President, suggesting that government intends to issue a definite position within 24 hours based on this report. Such an approach, respectfully, would not advance the peace we all seek. I urge the President to engage fully with all parties and with the mediator before taking any action founded upon this deeply flawed document. The content of the report appears calculated to cast Mamprugu in an unjust and unfavorable light, notwithstanding our consistent good faith and commitment to peace. I will not remain passive in the face of what appeared to be a carefully orchestrated process conceived long before the commencement of mediation and designed to prejudice Mamprugu. Not even an inch of Mamprugu ancestral heritage will be ceded to anyone, especially through an unjust and clearly orchestrated process. I stress that this so-called mediation ended in a clear deadlock with no consensus reached between the parties. The Mamprugu side made concession in good faith at the request of Otumfuo, concessions which were later acknowledged and praised by President John Dramani Mahama. These were nevertheless rejected outright by the Kusasi side, without any attempt to move towards the middle ground that mediation demands. It was therefore my reasonable expectation that any mediation report will remain within the limits prescribed by the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act 2010 Act 795, by reporting the deadlock rather than purporting to reach final determinations of or legal conclusion, especially where law was never argued and where the mediator is neither judge nor an arbitrator. I have always maintained I stand firmly for peace and shall continue to pursue that path. However, peace cannot and will not be built upon injustice. I entreat all within Mamprugu to continue to remain calm and law-abiding. I remain fully committed to peace, dialogue, and stability in Bawku and the wider Mamprugu area. However, peace must be founded on law, history, fairness, and consent, not on imposed outcomes or procedurally defective process. Any sustainable resolution of the Bawku chieftaincy dispute must proceed through a transparent and impartial process that respects the historical foundation of Mamprugu as a whole, constitutional norms, and the dignity of all traditional authorities. This statement is issued to clarify my position to prevent misinformation. I urge the media, the public, and all stakeholders to exercise caution and responsibility in characterizing ongoing efforts relating to the Bawku chieftaincy dispute. Peace, unity, and justice remain the guiding principle of the Nairis engagement with this matter. I shall engage further with Otumfuo and with the government of Ghana and will issue a comprehensive statement in due course. His Royal Majesty, Tungba Nairi, Naabo Hugu Mahami Abdurrah Sheriga, King of Mamprugu. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
From Mamprugu side, if I put it in context, or I put it in some. They are telling Ghanaians the whole mediation was a total fiasco. Yeah, I mean too. And I am watching. 3 minutes, 3 minutes.
Well, Sompa, if you say Sasemba, Nesse, Mijitum, say Asamna Abani Yunku Sisia, Adia Bakope, and Osam de Cemetery. Say either say, Masembe ye de, Namedim Kunima, Nase, Masam Enkuyi, Nemkoye de, Namedim Kuku. But Minyajitum to say Yunku Sisia pet, Namajatum se me passum. Na majatum se asem kro na ba ye no. Ye be free mo babia. Ye be free mo babia na majatum mesum. Na sumdua ba. Ase I am fed up of ebia ntokwa ene ohaw ne amane a ebia sa asem na ba ye no. E dia banti ye pe. Kamafo no wasiesie e dia maye. Ye be sere ye nuanom mampurugufo no. Ne mampurusifo no. Se di media to omugitu mu se omo behwe am yesiesie asem no. Na e wo so omugitu se bebia abene beto bia no eyempoyem age se bia at this point omo pese omo ka kire Ghana fo nyina se Bawku krom honom no yemfanye military training grounds so mo penisa de a na ne enke besre press yes akuta bebia ya ba bedroi from there se adana omo ba menhia enkomodidi e course a omo nyina ka bomu hagi each other ne ade the whole Ghana no be any aje. The whole Ghana no be any aje. Kosi nanwa ye recall presidency the report he got to ja church niema mu cha bakosem kra wo ho afanu kra so mu ye nuanom nti sade we kra na nsesesi no hwe Ghana nyina som se we de o se ye de awurade ase ti e besere na yiri akonta Ghana ye wahemfu benum Ghana ye wahemfu omo nko na timi ka se omo ye overlords na yiri ka ho enu nti na so be kai a otumfo refer to Nayiri as my brother
yes because
to
otumfo no oyeni pie
so hu
and he's a king onye paramount
David
Chonso wantimi anka say the chief and I say was say my brother Ghana you know omo ye 5 overlords omo ye 5
omo ye
9 plus otumfo inu
yes anunti na wokọ baabi a yetibi ka se Kumasi traditional council ne Kumasi Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs yentu aba wo sa asusu na wokọ na yiri hono mu a yentu aba because he is the only overlord our hono nti ye besere papa no say ne nananom for the sake of ne nananom
anyone no anso asumdua o se ope no
for the sake minim say okasa eyire sedanya nipa na ewo ho no nyina de minhu se yenuanom mampurusifo no enra me monitor social media pa kwan bi so na say omabamabu comment ni bi ni ade but whichever way besi akobia no eye me de se odi betwa ato se ye pasumdwe atoda akunta se asembu wono ma utimi kasa asemwe de mani nye ho ba se be ya asumdwe bebenti no eye metwa so ebini so be ka election petition 2012 Akufo-Addo ka se
I disagree with it.
No, minimum nyadwini na mom
asumdwenti
ti e besre nananom madam mamuka ye ntimi nkabi enye af chese ye memu baabia na mpese ni afene mo momfena ne yen momfena ne yen ti esre wo madwebra akonta medesi wonom akota ayi okuyetwa blakwa me ka sem ketu abi akota mpenimfo se yese do yonko se ohomeboa beno no nkyese yemfe ye yere no nkoche ye namfofo momuni wo mu sebi akota Ghana yeti ha ne Yesu se nurses yafa nursefo adwuma afe yentua wo muka obi nsu ayira fa obi wo Jamaica
ko yi 10 million
ye 10 million Ghana cedis ya toto mo ne asikyire de ko momadi meanwhile Ghana your nurses o ma ye adwuma about 6,000 about 7,000 wa ye adwuma fi yentua ne ka ye guso asa nurse ne no be ko adwuma o
wo de hwehwe animu ana
konta no yonko se wo ye de yere ko che de na ni hwe
ayako
ona si ni enchi afo ba bia ayi me brade awie na me sha se de
uje to no
yes and me de kakra de fa a teacher for the mate it in and which I invite BNI say omo enkoye investigation enhwe mate say yes payment vouchers ahodo ebeba abontin say ye teacher for kanu nyina eda so kama but we be kwa kopie mo bank no na ye 1 month salary na eden aba na de mate ne say yes obi wo controller ho say bra na warriors no onye ma na 10% of it no age sada metete ya me gada information ti bia na ifo no pay so mutie a omonkohwe mu kakra mfa maye na Krumuha, we will not cease to amaze ourselves. Say you worth 10 million. And you are ye. But then, if ye are here near to me, provide your mafia. Mamma Bruna, Womusu, Mabuna, Womaye Juma Bosumi, they do me no. Na Wamokakra, Modibesho, Modia Shabusia for. Na Omo depending on Omon so much to me a show mono. Dear near to me, I had 10 million Ghana cedis. Men casa me and yet your neighboring countries are Naze.
Jamaica, a neighboring country. Jamaica, you could do. Men
casa me and your papa, there be. Papa, dear ye. A year, we are papa for so, but Nalafia.
Boakye Notre Dame. Yeah, okay, Notre Dame. France. Notre Dame, she had a good father, $2 million is what they come home. DSC or Ghana. At 10 years, and NDC was in opposition. Press conferences in some more candidate good father say if you attempt 2 million so they come Notre Dame. Say no what France paint kind of say heritage yintino support Murafi. Dear Sam FDC and country of Ghana. Near that sorry, ya nurse force you, Matam 10 million, somebody come out Jamaica, Jara Safari.
We inquire, dear. We no baby. I think I did third crowd. Say,
it's a Cote d'Ivoire. What is on Nigeria? Could a dear connection kwani and Jamaica wo. The do go to black to Wakaka Choma Penino man peninsula prince 10 million so empako. Ah soldier for ni e money e si chire nyina eko.
Ese soldier for no ko bom no muntwa blocks mfansi omo dan na bubu ni engineer.
Galam say na anwe ni se. Ah ewurade Yankopon he. Sikana ba.
Boss career the FN say nke dey kono. They make provisions for your nurse for yi. Ka fe. Ni akasi wo Ghana yenso ya ade but say if you say ni ye hunu say ya tam sika say dey kwa abonti we obekum no na connection man bi wo akire a obenya na ya kan say percentage e wo ko chen obenya cut bi wo baby na ne ho aye de bafu kama now to Bawku nsensemi me sure pa say nananom nyina omo ho nyina nso pa tumdue na letter no so I babontin ne choice of words na a woman no
lawyer crotch
lawyer ni na otroye no
lawyer ni na otroye ni bofu
lawyer ni na otroye no atoda
ya me sure say na yiri be kan no atro ba to din die shame
yes
ya be just say na yiri di na twere be ma no
yes
na ono amu no oye pift
yes
enti otro no wodi ni so die shame
because say we use so called ne purported
lawyer no dey who say no hu bomba
if you are in the coming years maybe on never be overlord or ho do how we protect because let him there now no day but ni nyina achiro ya me hwe ni say pedifo nsa nyentem we ne mfre pedifo ni nsa ni atena se ni nkomo kakra bi a ebeboa na edi asumdwi edi aba
well
let her there
I know thing why we are who can we also bufu well wasn't
Omanhene Ukraine was in this sa humanitarian ground international community you know yes mejida but I say they kwa I mean this year mampani mama ye bi ma is it Pakistan Afghanistan ho no the ko is seen as Israel and Sankofa they send some items to them relief items to them and no that in China we na bam Jamaica. Nanado edekoma not done. Nanado was right. They will only tell you say the minority will have their say, but the government.
Nanado was right in what?
At that time, and then Nanado nkwa most time. Omu dey command one of the African countries.
Edibiko hate.
And a normal thing na ye tie. Ye wa na China for bread 20 million. Ni ni age. Now the obi problem. Obi ma obi a.
There was moment you ha. There was moment you ha with the idea command ni panwa. Now if you it's your nurse for you to tell me them all.
Oman me China for no. Omo de bibi bre na America for bibi ya no mbu bibi o ma.
China for omo de bibi bre no. Nye ne omo nya opportunity be say
international collaboration and ade ba ko omo ko say yes soldier for no. They are going to learn something. You call that far. Sudan, South Sudan, ni nyina am say nke bega se yenko. E didn't yakuma ye dia soldier for ekomu training. And dem ko so say na ma we nyina boatu a sharpen their knowledge internationally. Yeah na because sometimes you what your job like say the government not having its priorities right. To some you call say I say nurses policy. But if you have to sit down and say best of all our problems we are and you more biawo and yes we be
then we should understand say then we have no moral right to criticize a Kufu.
And America said another was right then. Because as I see Notre Dame one back said another call France but Notre Dame was an international monumental year. If you are senior if Ghana
it was a heritage.
Man for to bring in. And on my intermediate for me, and problem. My point in say you can say yes support to Ubako Onano Mampa Mama call China. Or can you say Omaji way, or quite near Benny, not the only Bikana Wusu. That is, I say, when now American for one as of an order. Social problems and also
the social problem. What is yes untia necessary? What is
on my
yo baby on ma untimi wieda any asante ubekwa America e dey akwan ba ku bi bo Porto kakra wo mo American phone timi ka so ma wie bibia but asante American nurse ni be no obeka kire wo se wa ye adwuma 11 months ntia ne ka a teacher for Omaya Juma 11 months to Omuka 1 month.
$10 million on medical
hospital. Is that woman a wa? Kabaka say Yemfa, Yesika Nkoma, Jamaica, Wonum we. Obokom Kabi now. Oh my comments. I know I didn't power. Jamaica, Akuta, what comes to mind is Jamaica. Oh, yeah,
Jamaica, and we. There be one thing
Akuta, they are rich in million communication, development communication.
Music.
There be no example of what we studied.
Ja Rastafari music is there. And omudia ashide export. Oh yes.
So omudia hwedia no mu bi me ehun ya da bi enum.
Ala ko na Jamaica omu ya hwede.
O mo twintwa ya twintwa mu. Akuta. Ade pasa. Mo de mo bete. Obi anu ye twintwa se no akosi ni kura. Akuta ya. Ye na se fo de teacher kwa. Obi o je twintwa.
Whenever there is negotiation, I say seven once before we could then also the Abuaba. I want to about Bobby's no bad. What I want to state is said. So why you so best sacrifice some of your expectation demands
and your ego,
there will be no
peace
into yesterday but for me na masema pass bi o man no pass bi na no am pan omu issue statement that the presidency no omu so omu twa 1 billion Ghana cedis omu nim say over the years because of the protracted war no had their near cost ntino they have been deprived a whole lot of economic gains
including the 1 billion Ghana back when development
na me ko na me wo problem ho ade ye twa omo enkwende omo so mu hia bia na what you say that is the import of whole thing
that's say only talk kind dey buy me 3 months say e dey yesu e be ku
obi so ba ko be pay 1 billion na 1 billion Ghana cedis within 3 years
I had to say obi jira ka say ye be nyanka by election right ho na we mpi ogu yi
ya o fa se wa mpi
se de grofo ye je ewrade mo ana yesusu ye nya by election
be ba de be ya kwan nyina ma ye ne a
e de mpi woto ye
ye sacrifice ye be dem nya kwan
nega na mpi woto ye
e jo mai omo fo mo ntu ne ma abani di gu akoma bo mo 1 billion Ghana cedis brought it is can be 3 years on betin enweme bebe am mo tiye sre o ma sumdie ma
okay by fa agudi ho se obremo
obi a cheche bia no wi